always nicer to have something in your hands.
Right. Unfortunately, stand by just a minute. I've got both of these. I have to keep this one. And here's your set.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I need that. I need that.
You're
I'm tired.
hopefully go.
Mm-hmm. Shall I close the door, Ashley?
Yes, and let me prop open the front door, that way we're
official.
official. You'll remember, yes. So close that one, I'll open this one.
On the RFP, this is about page 14. The bottom of page 14 and on page 15.
Yeah, she is.
Some people want to read along. Don't see the core information in black.
I always said when I was traveling, I was going about 15 minutes earlier because
You were afraid you couldn't do it. I know, I do the same thing with my.
I could go and Zoom 20 times.
Enjoy with scanning the documents.
One time it was the right one, and the next time.
Okay.
I would,
And here are the two documents.
Sebastian, can you change the setup on Zoom so we can see change the view so we can see all of the participants? Right now we can only see Marie Claire.
I think it might be the top right corner. You have it in speaker mode instead of gallery.
Right.
And Marcy.
Okay. All right. That's where you can just step in and stuff over me. I can fix a car or do something like that. It comes with computers.
Oh, yeah.
It's not my fault.
Except for you, we're off balance.
Okay, this, we're all here. Let's call our meeting to order. Could I have a roll call, please?
You may. Marie Claire Gorham.
Here.
John Krischer.
Here.
Susan Murphy.
Here.
Phil Pardue.
Here.
Mary Jo Williams. Mary Jo.
I'm here, sorry.
Great.
I was
That's
locked
okay.
out somehow.
Thank you.
There she is.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. All right, we'll start out. Do you have any public appearances of something that's not on our agenda today for future agendas? Okay. All right, then we'll move right on to the first order of business. We're going to review the updated request for proposal for the architect service for the renovation of the Harrison Memorial Library and remind of the RPF to the City Council for final review and approval. So, Ashley?
Thank you all for being here this morning. So at the July 7th, Monday's special City Council meeting, the City Council reviewed the request for proposals for architect services for the renovation of the Harrison Memorial Library and provided staff with direction to return to Council at the August meeting with the following. This is updated language in the RFP specific to the criteria section, calling out the necessity of a library consultant for the project, a draft agreement between the city and the Carmel Public Library Foundation regarding funding responsibility for the project, and then proposed committee members to review the request for proposals, so when the proposals come in, which would be inclusive of 1 to 2 local architects. For today's purposes, at this point in time, we have the request for proposals attached to the staff report with the updates as requested by the City Council, highlighted in yellow. The Carmel Public Library Foundation also had some further edits to the criteria, and I have those available that we can look at, but those were not included as they were covered elsewhere in the RFP, and council didn't specifically ask for those changes. A draft funding agreement has been completed by the city attorney as the council requested. There was a whole discussion about turnaround and all of that, and that was sent to the foundation as quickly as possible after that, and that is an ongoing discussion with the foundation. We haven't received any response back from them. They're working on it. And same with the committee, though the foundation did submit the architect review committee makeup at the last meeting for consideration. So the items 2 and 3 are still works in progress at this point in time. And so we're here to talk specifically about the language updates in the RFP, and I'll turn it over to the Board of Trustees with any questions or comments at this point before we open it up to public comment.
So I think it'd be good right now. I mean, we have the RFP that you submitted that was that meets what the request from the City Council was. However, the foundation has come back with edits, and I think that we should. They have not been discussed in the public forum before, so I'd like for them to have an opportunity to present the edits and then why they need to be in there. Give them an opportunity.
Absolutely. So would you like me to bring that presentation up?
Yes. Is there anybody from the foundation that wants to talk to those, or? Okay.
Go ahead, Letty.
So we'll bring them up, and then when we get to the right place and you're happy, then we'll turn the floor over to you. Is that okay, John?
That's fine with me. Thank you, Phil.
My name is Letty Bennett. I'm the retiree from the city of Carmel. I worked at the library for 13 years. And I can't seem to stay away because I'm vice president of the Carmel Public Library Foundation board now. I haven't had the pleasure of meeting Mary Jo or Marie Claire. So how do you do? How do you do? Basically, I'm here to ask the Library Board of Trustees to help the CPLF help you help the citizens. So the reason that we want this language added to the RFP is because this is a public document. It's very likely that donors of high capacity, meaning people who would give us $1 million or more, really want to know how their money's going to be invested. Some operate that way, others don't. But what we're trying to do as a foundation board is anticipate any objections, any worries, any concerns that high capacity donors might have. So we believe that it's very important that the evaluation criteria, which people are going to go right to, those who are interested in this sort of thing, they're going to go right to that. We want that information to be right there, standing proud and strong, that we hold these values in terms of evaluation of the contract. And additionally, we think it very important that the volunteer, just as we're all volunteers, Ken Cranstone is a volunteer, Marcy Moe, who is on this call, who's our president, is a volunteer. Just as these volunteers for the Architect Selection Review Committee are volunteers. So we want them to be honored and named in this document, regardless of whether the information is redundant. There's other redundant information in here. And ink and paper are not that expensive anymore that we have to worry about data bits and bytes and their expense. So this is what we're bringing to you today. I should also let you know that our executive director, Alexandra Fallon, is on this call. She is under the weather today and didn't want to share her bug. Thank you, Alex. I don't think I made it clear, but to everybody online, especially Ken Cranstone is here today. He's on our executive committee. He's the treasurer. He knows all about the finances and all about the investments. I'm very grateful to him for taking part out of his busy professional day to be here. So in talking and in thinking about this, I realize that y'all might have concerns that haven't really been aired. So that I want you to feel really comfortable when I say to you, help us help you help the citizens of Carmel who are users of this library. We're trying to do our very best, just as each of you is. Everybody in this room has the library in their heart, or they wouldn't be spending their time this way. So John, you had indicated that you had some concerns.
Yes, I do. I think the revisions you have now, I would have really liked them to come out, been given to, I wish the revisions you've given us now would have been brought to us before our last board meeting. That way, my board could have looked it over. We could have made an agenda item on our board meeting.
Right.
The public would have known about this, and we could have had a really good discussion about this. It's sort of, I'm for the project. I think it's a fantastic idea, but we have responsibilities, and it just seems it was like thrown at us. We have our meeting, and this is given to us. The revisions, I don't think, came till even after our meeting. It should have been given to us before our last meeting, and this could have all been discussed right then, and we could have really we could have all worked together.
Right.
And I think we all want to work together, as you and I have talked earlier before.
Right, we do.
Our two boards should be talking together.
Right.
And make this work. This is a project for Alex and Marcy and Ashley and I talking. It's not our boards. It's just the four of us. There's a lot of people. I have on my board very dedicated, people that I want their opinions. They should be involved in this. And that's my concern. I'm very concerned that it doesn't seem like it's sort of going through without a lot of thought.
Well, first of all, I want to acknowledge your concern. I want to acknowledge your concern because it's obvious you're a people lover. It's obvious, and that you want to see harmony and agreement together. But I'd like to comment on the fact that the Architect Selection Committee has been meeting since December of last year, and we've aired all these things in that forum.
Right.
And this is a group of people who are community-minded leaders. These are people who have been investors in the library through the years. Some of them are people of high capacity we want them to understand what's going on. So we feel as though, and you're a member of that committee, you've been to those meetings as well. So we feel as though we've done what we needed to do, and we could certainly do a lot more of that once we have some renderings that can be used, renderings provided by the chosen architect, some renderings that we can use to explain it. It's very hard to what is it? A picture is worth 1,000 words. We want those images to help us explain to people what the vision is and what it means to them, what it means to their children and their grandchildren. But we can't get those images, those tools, until we send out an RFP and then select an architect. So we're kind of caught. We got a dance that we're doing. So that is the challenge there. Susan or Phil, did you want to say something?
And we also have Mary Claire and Mary Jo also,
Mary Claire and Mary Jo?
if they have any comments.
Comments as well.
Anything on the Mary Claire, Mary Jo?
Well, this is Mary Jo.
Go ahead, yeah.
I just do have a question. So I'm just trying to make sure I understand. The concern at hand is naming the members of the Architect Selection Committee in the RFP?
We already agree that it will go in as Appendix A. So that's not a
Okay.
concern. But we
Okay.
want to name the group in the RFP at the end, in section number 7.
Right, so that hasn't been agreed on. That wasn't included in that hasn't been agreed on. The committee.
One of the things we're talking about.
Right, so that was the request of the Carmel Public Library Foundation, but again, that hasn't, the Architect Selection Committee and its existence and hasn't been discussed by this Board of Trustees in terms of making that recommendation to the City Council. So what we have at hand in terms of completed staff work to send to the council is the request for proposals.
Right.
The committee makeup, the council's going to want final say on it. They were clear on that the last council meeting with the direction that they provided to us. So I'll leave it to the Board of Trustees to discuss and provide me with direction.
The position of the CPLF regarding the people on this board is that they're volunteers. They've come, they've given their time. We want to honor them. And it also should be acknowledged that the Architect Selection Committee could properly be named the Architect Recommendation Committee.
Right, and that committee can exist, but I think that, as you stated earlier, you worked for the city, and so you know how the review of requests for proposals go, and it is incredibly, and I know this is a very special project, but atypical to have a review committee like this looking at requests for proposals. So in terms of, there's going to need to be a balance, and the council's going to need to feel comfortable with appointing a committee for a project like this, and with police department renovations and other big level projects, the council's been very hands-on in terms of building ad hoc committees, and this is something they're going to want to look at. So with understanding the expediency that we want to get this request for proposals out, yes, I know we can all agree on that. Then we've got these other two pieces, which is the legal agreement between the city and the foundation for funding responsibilities and all that type of language, but also the discussion about the makeup of the committee can be ongoing once the RFP is out. It doesn't have to be decided before the request for proposals is out. It should be attached and tied in with the legal agreement process.
Right, exactly.
So
I'm so glad that you said that, because...
We have Mary Jo still trying to say something.
Oh, Mary Jo.
Still trying to say something.
No, thank you, Phil.
Question.
I just wanted to clarify. I think what Ashley's saying makes a lot of sense to me. The RFP is an already very lengthy document, and the purpose of it really is for the architectural firms to respond to. It also sets a framework, of course, for the agreement. But I'm having a hard time understanding why we would have to have all the names attached to that agreement at this time, at least.
Hi, can I respond? It's Alexandra.
Yes.
Okay. So during the last meeting, there were the 5 objectives that Marcy mentioned as far as the rationale. Why do we have this committee? And this committee was formed with Ashley and John on the committee back in December of 2023, along with the mayor and other members who are cross sections, internal and external stakeholders of our community. And these people are also potential donors to the project. They have expertise in projects like this. And so this foundation, this committee was really instrumental in helping the foundation start thinking about how we were going to fundraise for a project like this, and what the vision of the project, in other words, what would be needed for such a a project. And so these people were carefully curated one at a time in order to represent the community, the city, the library. We have a historian on there. I don't know if you've had a chance to review all of the people on that committee, but this was really the impetus for our ability to be able to move forward with this. Right. So it's very important that they get named. It can be referenced, but that they get named and brought onto this. And then I just did want to address, John, when you talked about a little bit earlier about kind of not being part of the process. You know, we have been through a process of these RFPs going back and forth between CPLF and Ashley. And what I'm understanding has been the ad hoc committee a couple of times, at least twice. I did send over these edits on Friday. And I guess the question is, you know, can we go forward with what the foundation feels is important by respecting and honoring those members on the committee, including the mayor, including Ashley and John, and we've added Phil to it. And in order to move the project forward, and so it's important. These people are really important, the ones who are on the committee. Yeah. And they've been part of this process of analyzing with design guidelines and so forth. They've been part of this journey with us.
Right. So thank you so much, Alex. Did Mary Jo want to say something?
Well, I did. I'm sorry. And I just want to say, everything you said, Alex, makes a lot of sense to me. This committee has been very important. I understand that. My only concern is that it may delay the RFP as we go forward. I don't understand the necessity of naming all the people in the RFP. That's the only thing. It's not a comment about the value of the committee or the work that's been put into it. I just want to make that clear.
Thank you.
Well, and right now the RFP looks generic. It's saying it's talking about the profiles, but there are actual people that we have that, like I said, we have curated to be on this committee because of their expertise, because of who they are in the community, because of their interest in how close they have been to the library. So it really is the people and the process that we have to consider. And that's the rationale. We've been meeting with them. We've been receiving updates. They're the evaluation committee that we were looking for on such an extraordinary project. And again, Ashley and John have been part of it. The mayor has been part of it. Ken Seavey, a historian. We've added 2 architects, one who's on the Historic Resource Board for Carmel, another one from San Francisco who has an historic home here. We've vetted each one of them to get this great cross-section to do what we need to do on our end to raise funds for this project.
Right.
Marie-Claire, do you have anything? You haven't had a chance to chime in yet.
Thank you so much. Actually, we addressed it, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I have a quick question on for the sake of argument, the architectural committee is accepted as exhibit or Appendix A. What happens when the people change on it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my hearing is really deteriorated.
So what happens if the Appendix A changes? Somebody resigns from the Library Foundation Board, somebody is no longer part of city government. What happens, and this is more of a question for the city, do we have to update the RFP every time that changes?
I mean, potentially, but
Yeah.
I think it's a legal document. You would have to.
Right. So if we issue the RFP and anything in that changes, we would need to take time to reappoint somebody, and that would need to,
Right.
I have a comment on that. Could it be that the mayor of Carmel-by-the-Sea, the president of the Carmel Public Library Foundation, and the president of the Board of Trustees, that way would be a generic form? It would not be somebody specific to it. So if there's a different mayor, a different president of the board, or a different president of your board, we would have, the agreement would say it's the president of the CPLF, the president of the Board of Trustees, and the mayor of Carmel-by-the-Sea. That way you wouldn't have to adjust your thing. It would, instead of a name, it would be a placeholder.
That's a simple enough thing to do if that's important. That's simple enough to do. What do you think?
I'll let Trustee Perdue.
Well, and just philosophically, this is a legal document. And so anything
Right.
that's in there is a opportunity for the city to get, have legal action taken against them if we don't get it right. And so the more complex you make an RFP, the more likely you are to have legal expenses on the other side as they go. I mean, it's just the way it is. I mean, this happens all the time.
Right.
And
Right, which is why these three items are separate from each other.
And so the
Right.
question is how do we keep this as trying to meet the legitimate concerns of the foundation, keep this as simple as possible, addressing the things that are appropriate to address an RFP, and addressing the other items in their appropriate forum. And what would that be
Right.
look like going forward?
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
So-
Yeah. I'm just putting it out there for
Raising my hand
yeah.
here, raising my hand here. Since these things in the evaluation section are in fact redundant, they're stated elsewhere in the RFP, by repeating them in the list of evaluation requirements, we're not endangering anything. We're simply repeating what's been said earlier and bringing it in a part of the RFP that people will pay special attention to.
So I think we're talking about, you've switched us and switched gears, which is one, we've been leaning heavily on talking about the review committee.
The review committee.
Right, which is one thing, and I think that from the sound of it, it sounds like that, as Trustee Pardue points out very well, this is a legal document.
Correct.
And the way that it's structured is to make it clear to proposers what we are looking for. And how they'll be graded on it, but who will be doing the reviewing is a completely different matter and is not typically right. So those two things are separate. With regards to the criteria, when I put in my staff report that those items were redundant, they are, but also when they are included as criteria, they thus become restrictive in how we can review the proposals, and I have very serious concerns about that because we want to be able, I think we can agree between two groups, we want the best architect possible. And so that's why the criteria was originally structured the way it was, and some of the additional language that was included there but also appears elsewhere in the RFP, I think limits our ability to do that. I think that with the RFP itself, sending it on to the City Council and for review and approval so that this can be released out into the world. Yes, we can all agree that we want to get to that point, but give ourselves some latitude to return to City Council at a subsequent meeting. Hopefully, I would think the next available meeting, which would be September, for the legal agreement and the makeup of the committee, which we've agreed on, would be a really good thing to keep us moving forward on this project. So I'll leave it to the Board of Trustees for further discussion.
I think I'm all right with putting the RFP forward, but I want the rest of the board members, how they feel about, we have no legal agreement right now, which we were asked by council, directed by council to come up with. And
The
also,
RFP does not
council
state-
directed us to find work with
I'm raising my hand.
an architect committee. So I'm fine with putting the RFP out to council, but I think it's council's decision, or how the rest of you feel, to move forward right now. Comments from the rest of the trustees.
Let's let the, see if
Marcy's
Mary.
trying to say something. I'm sorry to interrupt. Marcy's been trying to say something. I don't know if her own hand has been raised or something.
We can't see her hand raised. There she goes.
Okay.
So can you guys hear me? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
Been trying to talk. So there's a couple of things I wanted to address. First of all, the concern that we could slow things down by not including the architect selection committee names could actually have the opposite effect, because one of the things that was asked was by Council Member Barron is he wanted to know who was going to be doing the selection, and he specifically stated that he wanted to have 2 architects on the selection committee, which is why we went and added 2 architects. I understand the concern that the selection committee makeup might change, but at the same time, it's a very short period of time that committee will be in place, because once we get the RFP out, the architects will respond, and then that committee will make a recommendation, and the committee will no longer be required because it's an architect selection committee. So I think that it's a relatively low risk that committee makeup is going to change over the next 2 or 3 months. So that's one thing. And I think that given if we as 2 boards agree on the composition of the committee, and that goes to in the the submittal by Ashley to the council of the RFP and the selection committee, then I would assume that the city, given that it has the composition that it has, would say that looks good. I don't know what other people think about that second statement.
I was just going to ask, so from the council meeting, is that one of the asks is to come up with a committee recommendation prior to the RFP, or at what point did the city council want that?
So my understanding was that the city council asked for updated language to the RFP, a draft agreement between the Carmel Public Library Foundation and the city regarding funding responsibilities, and proposed committee members, all for the blessing at the city council meeting in August. We don't have 2 of those things. They're still in progress. We want to keep these, and part of the reason why they picked the August meeting was to keep these things moving forward.
Okay, so
which one don't we have? I'm sorry, which 2 don't we have? We have the composition of the architect selection committee.
So yes, the Carmel Public Library Foundation put forth the architect selection committee, and we have the request for proposals, request for proposal edits as requested by council completed at this point in time. So we've got some of these things done for the city council for the August meeting, and some of these things are still works in progress.
So see if Mary Jo or Mary Claire have anything.
Yes. Okay.
So so we have 3 things we need to get done.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Mm-hmm.
2 of which we can address today.
Yes.
As we go, and so
which is the 3rd thing? I'm sorry, Phil, I'm confused. Which is the 3rd thing?
The agreement. The agreement.
Okay.
The agreement between the city and that.
Yes. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
And so for Marcy and Alexandra, if you don't have something to say, can you hit your hand button again so it comes down? Because right there you go. Otherwise, you have a raised hand the whole time, and so
it makes it confusing. Thank you.
Do we have the?
I just wanted to speak to a few things, not necessarily to address any questions, but in thinking about the RFP and having digested some of the comments from the Board of Trustees, I just wanted to share just a couple of thoughts that I had, in particular about the specificity of the Architect Selection Committee being included in the RFP language. I understand the use of a dynamic legal document is never a good thing when things can change and need to be continuously updated. I think Marcy put up a good point about the limited scope of duration and the unlikelihood for changes there. And I think when we put out an RFP, and you'll have to indulge me, I love using analogies, but in a way it's like putting out a save the date card for the marriage between the Library Foundation, the Board of Trustees, and the city. We're saying we're all coming together for a really big purpose. And in providing context and providing this public documentation of not only saying there is a committee out there, but naming folks on that committee who have longstanding relations with the community that are stalwart bastions, it provides a sense of calm and unity around what will ultimately be. It's a very contentious topic of any kind of change. So when looking at the library, I think leading with our best foot forward about not only are we looking for this RFP, but we have assembled a committee of groups and volunteers of various expertises from various parts of the city, all unifying around a shared message of polishing the gem of Carmel is a powerful message to lead with. And I just want to balance that with the appropriate expediency of a document and the requirements of legal liability, making sure to reduce that as much as possible. And then as for just a separate point on the evaluation criteria, the points of redundancy, I cannot speak to the legal form of a document, but having responded to many RFPs in my investing life, I know it's going to be a separate document compared to a municipal building. But what I can say is the RFP offers a calling card, in a sense, for highlighting the important elements to the committee. And while it does limit the scope of what we may be able to grade on, and I think the language in here in my non-legal interpretation is broad enough to give us those latitudes, it provides a very clear indication of what we expect from the architects putting forth proposals, that this is our focus, this is what's important to us, and this is what we care about. So that when they come to us with the short form document that they provide, the limited 25-page proposal, that they hit on the most important factors, and that all the architects also have a shared idea of what we're looking at in the first place, so we don't have disparate elements all trying to come together, which focuses the committee and allows for greater expediency in selecting an ultimate architect. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think what we're looking at is if we forward the RFP to council, council is going to make a decision whether they want to move forward without a legal agreement. That is going to be their decision. I think a legal agreement would really have been good before we got started. I think it would be a great idea. Then it takes one thing out of there that we can just move forward with. And with the group that was picked out to look for an architect, the final say is going to be by council. This group's going to come up with ideas, and council is going to make the decision. I don't think that there'll be any power of this committee to say this is the architect we have to have. It's going to be the City of Carmel's council, by the Sea's council, that's going to make the decision on what architect is used and the plans. And it's going to be a long process. I understand how you're to get fundraising. I understand that completely. This could be, I'm hearing $16 to $18 million. I've been around here long enough to realize that 18 in Carmel-by-the-Sea could be 21 million in another 6 months. So it's a huge project. And I admire the CPLF for going for it. I'm no way against the library. I love the library, and we got to keep it relevant. Mm-hmm. And as I said before, I'm more than willing to put the RFP up there to the council. But I was directed to put a legal agreement too. So I'm fine with the RFP. I'm fine with that. And if the rest of the board members want to put the committee forward, I'm fine for it. I'm only one person. I have a very dedicated group of people on my board, and I cherish their and respect their opinions. If they want to move forward like this with the committee, I'm more than okay. That's fine. There's their decision. But we were told to bring a legal agreement too, which we do not have. Mm-hmm. So we go there. It's going to be council's decision how they move. I'm nowhere against this project. Don't get this wrong. I'm just trying to do the best job, and I want my board, their decision. Phil, you have a comment on that, or
Well,
Susan?
Well, so for the, don't disagree, I think that for the purposes of today, that we break this into, the council has asked for 3 things.
Right.
We have 2 of them in front of us today. I think that we should separate them into 2 separate things and say, and so the question would be, the RFP, what do we want to do with that? And do we want to submit the members of the architectural committee as given to us by Exhibit A to the council as our recommendation for who the selection committee should be going forward? Or if there's changes that we need to be made in there so that the city council can discuss that and make a decision or not, or send it back for more work. But I think that we, to keep this project going, I think that that's the best way forward. Just kind of break it down in its piece parts, because we have what we have today. I don't think we're going to get the legal agreement in time to be able to do for the August meeting. So,
what?
So I would say that.
Hold on one second. I'm raising my hand, but no one's calling on me. It's Alex. The legal agreement is not necessarily necessary in order to go forward with the RFP. We're working on the legal agreement. That's not going to come quick because we need to have our board agree on it, our executive committee, everything. So, I mean, that one of them can still move forward, the RFP, which it does not require the city to, or the Board of Trustees to commit to anything other than to receive proposals. The agreement is something separate. So I don't think that we need to take that off the August agenda. What we're asking for you today is we submitted, you know, the committee, the architect selection committee members, or discussed it with you at the last special meeting on Wednesday. Both Ashley and John have been on that committee since December of 2023. It's not an unknown committee. And so we're asking if there's any, you know, to include that as just as a reference, as an exhibit.
Right. So I think I'd like to propose to the Board of Trustees something for consideration. So we have the request for proposals with the edits as requested by the City Council. As Alex just said, the Carmel Public Library Foundation submitted the Architect Review Committee for this board's consideration. We didn't have it agendized, so we couldn't discuss at our last regular meeting. We can, as Phil says, we have 3 separate items here. One, we all know that the legal agreement's not forthcoming right now, right? So that's off it, and we don't need to talk about that anymore. The RFP is ready for council consideration. The Architect Review Committee, the Board of Trustees, has expressed their consternation about including it as an exhibit to the RFP itself. That does not preclude it from being forwarded to the City Council at the August meeting for consideration. Does that make sense? As a separate item.
Yes.
So there's 2 items for council consideration. Here is the RFP with the edits that you requested. Here is the Architect Review Committee as proposed by the City Council or by the Carmel Public Library Foundation, and the Board of Trustees has received this membership. Council, what say you? And that would be the staff report to the City Council at the August meeting. Board of Trustees.
I have a couple.
What direction do you have?
I don't know. Am I on? Yeah. I have a couple of questions about the members of the selection committee. First of all, it's a huge list, and often a consensus is easier with a smaller group. That's number 1. Number 2, the 2 people that were added by the request of the City Council, are they going to bid? They're both architect committees. They won't bid on it. Okay, that was my other question, because that concerned me that they might be, you know, bidding on it because they're both from architectural committees. Thank you.
Right, they would be ineligible.
Okay, thank you.
And they know that.
So Yeah, so now, so Board of Trustees, Mary Jo, Mary Claire, Phil, John, what do you have to say about sending these two items separately? So the exhibit, it wouldn't be, the Architect Review Committee would not be included as an exhibit to the RFP, but that we would ask that the council consider these two items separately. We'd forward them on for their final review.
I propose that we have two motions. One motion.
Well, are we ready? Well, I think we need to agree to how we're going to approach this first, going forward, and then at the end, we'll do the, on whatever approach we decide to do, we do the approvals, because I don't think that we're ready to make a proposal on either one yet, because we haven't really discussed them yet. This is all, in my opinion, we've talked all about procedure and making the sausage and things like that. We haven't actually gotten to the actual documents yet to discuss their merits.
You got it. Right, Phil. I think then the first thing we'll discuss that forwarding the agreement to the council, the RFP.
The RFP itself, yes.
Yes.
We're talking about the request for proposals.
Request for proposal, we discuss that, how we feel about whether we're ready, the board is ready to move that to council.
I think that's...
So, go ahead. I'm interrupting you, so I don't...
But I think that's the first thing we should discuss, if we're ready to forward the RFP to the requested proposal to council.
Right, that's the agenda in front of us, so...
Yeah. We'll get that. Any, Mary Jo, Mary Claire, you have any comments on this?
It strikes me as intuitive as well.
I'm fine with the RFP as, with the revisions.
Okay. Mary Claire?
Yes, I was saying that it sounds intuitive as well, the current plan, yes.
Okay.
The current plan.
Wait, I'm confused.
So
I'm sorry, John, I'm confused. May I ask, I think it was Marie Claire said, she's fine with the RFP with the revisions.
That we made, the council asked us to make.
So what what the Board of Trustees is now discussing after receiving input from Marcy and Alex, yourself and Ken, is we're going back to, we have figured out the process forward, which is to take the request for proposals to the council, but we need to discuss the document itself, which is what's on the agenda.
Correct.
So that's what we're doing right now.
Okay.
And then we'll come back to the review committee. That'll be piece 2 for making a recommendation to council there, and that will be it. So that's where we're at this point. Yes.
Yeah, that's where we are at this point.
I think right now, if somebody make a motion.
So Mary Jo said that she's fine with the edits as proposed.
I'm not ready to do a proposal one way or another.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we had no discussion on, by the board members themselves. We've heard other people talk about.
Right, but so right now what I'm gonna do is be a little more formal. We've been kind of loosey-goosey with the meeting. We're going to close this to public comments, and by that I mean the Carmel Public Library Foundation. No, you stay here. You listen in, but I want the Board of Trustees needs to make a final decision. So when they have had their discussion, if we need to open it up again to comments, we will. But for this point in time, they're going to be discussing the request for proposals and the content.
Okay.
And recommendation.
And I'm going to sit down and observe.
Ashley, can I just ask a question? This is Marcy.
Yes.
Right now, the Board of Trustees is only considering the changes that were made by you.
That's correct.
They are not considering the changes that we asked to be incorporated into the evaluation.
We're going to include all of them. There we have so my recommendation as staff was my proposals, but we also have the edits by the CPLF up here on the screen as well for consideration by the Board of Trustees.
Okay.
So both edits, both versions are being considered by the Board of Trustees.
Okay, thank you very much.
Phil, I think, and to the rest of the board members, I'm comfortable with moving forward with the revisions that Ashley's made, because that was what council asked us to do. I think we move it forward like that. I think the board, the selection committee will do a good job, and I think some of the stuff is, like she says, redundant. Right now, what Ashley said is basically what they asked for, and I think that's what we should move forward with right now.
So I'd just like to expand a little bit on it, and maybe offer a little revision. Just talking about starting with the evaluation criteria.
Right.
When these criteria are in other parts of the document, specifically Section 4, Paragraph 4 of the document. So you would hope that the architects would read all the way through the people that want to propose, so they see that. When you put into the evaluation, that becomes the sole criteria. So there may be other criterias that we know of now, or that we learn of later, that need to be included in the qualifications or related experience. The way this reads now, it could be interpreted that the sole criteria is a firm's references from past clients and association out of the ordinary and noteworthy, and that precludes somebody who has an even better design from somebody who has a track record. And I'm not sure that that would withstand, that would be up to the city lawyers to feel like they could live with it. So I think that in the interest of getting this through to this August meeting, that we accept that these criteria are someplace else in the document, and we accept the evaluation criteria. Otherwise, we're going to slow it down, and we're going to have, it's going to become more complex, because we'll have to put in every criteria that we'll need to include in there. And this is not it. There's much more. The other thing I would say is that I think that the foundation, they've been working on this a long time. They have had their architectural committee going forward. And I'm not sure it matters to the city whether we call this an evaluation committee, or we specifically name it as an architectural selection committee appointed by or approved by the city. So the city would approve it, and then that would show the continuity for the foundation, that they've had this project, they've been working on it, they've done a lot of good groundwork going forward. This is a continuation of a process, and then that allows us to make use of all the work that they've done, and they can make the case to their donors that they've been in this project from the very beginning going forward. But the caveat is that the city council gets the final approval on the side and the composition. And then that we break the, we should provide a list of that members of the architectural selection committee, but be disassociated from the RFP. So it can be referenced in the RFP, but the actual list itself approved by the city council is that third piece that we owe them.
Very well put, Phil.
So do any of the other, based on that discussion, do any of the other trustees have a comment or a different proposal?
No. I think you've stated it quite well, Phil. I really do.
Can I just ask a question? I'm not sure that I understood our discussion, but I just wanted to understand what Phil said. Phil, are you saying that the edits that the foundation put into the evaluation criteria make it more difficult to select an architect?
Yes, because on a very technical front, because you've now explicitly laid out the evaluation criteria that you're going to use, and now you're locked into those. And so, and you may find that you preclude people that you would like to select are no longer eligible to be selected because you've tied yourself down to a criteria. The example I used was the qualifications and related experience. Do I believe that a firm's references of past clients and associates are out of the ordinary and noteworthy is important? I absolutely do. Do I think it should be, if somebody comes out with but they have no project understanding, that they should be picked over somebody who has a less qualifications related experience on paper, but has a much better project understanding and a much better construction experience? I don't think that it's appropriate to be tied down up front, especially when all these criteria are part of the RFP in the paragraph 4. So it's not like we're taking things out from the RFP. Criteria that are important and have been deemed important by the work of the architectural committee. It's just whether it's important to be explicitly listed as the sole criteria within the evaluation section. And I'm not sure that it would.
But that's not the sole.
But I'm not sure, well, when you start reading it, that's one way to interpret it that opens up the city to legal action.
Yes.
And I think that the more explicit we get here, it's going to require it to go back to the lawyers and public works to see what the actual implications are on that. And I'm not qualified to be able to say, as we add more specificity in there, is that a good thing or a bad thing for the city going forward?
Thank you, Phil. I think it stands back, as you told me many times, we've been appointed, we're the trustees and the financial responsibility of the library and what moves forward legally. And I think your points are very well taken. So anybody, Mary Jo, Mary Claire, do you have any comments on this? Then can we have a motion that we...
So I just want to clarify for the foundation what I am hearing from the Board of Trustees. In terms of the edits to the request for proposals. The additions to the criteria will not be from the Carmel Public Library Foundation. The board is not recommending that those be included as we move forward, but that the language with regards to the selection committee, in particular the name Architect Review Committee, as the foundation has established it, be included with the caveat, as it has been, that the city council has final approval over the appointment of the committee. Is that correct?
Right. I think
right. So I would add that language back in as the foundation proposed it with the language that city council approves.
Yeah, it's specifically it's the Architectural Selection Committee.
Architectural Selection Committee. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you, Phil.
So I will do that. So would then make a motion, and then I'll take.
I'll make do I have a motion that we move forward with Phil's proposal there? How you put it, Phil?
How I just stated it, which is...
How you stated it, Phil, you said it quite good.
I make a proposal that we accept the RFP as submitted by the library director with the modification to changing an evaluation committee to the architectural selection committee, and then on the next page, adding architectural selection committee, but not referencing Exhibit A. That's a separate thing for the city to council to consider.
Excellent. Is there a second?
A second.
However, if the city council decides to include it as Exhibit A, that's great, but that's their decision.
Thank you for that clarification.
Do I have a second on that?
I second.
Okay, second. Can we have a vote on that, Ashley?
Marie-Claire Gorham.
Yes.
John Krischer.
Yes.
Susan Murphy.
Yes.
Phil Pardue.
Yes.
Mary Jo Williams.
Yes.
Thank you all. All right, on to our next item for consideration, the Architect Selection Committee.
Okay, have any discussion from Mary Jo or Mary Claire? I think that we could move it forward to council for their consideration and their vote. If they're happy with the selection committee, then they can vote that they're willing to move forward with it.
Well, do Mary Claire or Mary Jo have a comment or give them?
No, I think the CPLF has done an amazing job of collating a great group of people to be on this committee. I don't think that's an issue at all. I think it's a great group, and I'm very happy to support moving that forward.
Okay.
Agreed.
Agreed. So then we have a motion to move it forward then?
Mary Jo, you want to make the motion?
Yes, I move that we forward this list of people that are on the Architect Selection Committee to the council for approval.
as the evaluation committee, the official evaluation
Yes,
committee for
thank
the
you.
RFP.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a second on that?
I second it.
Okay. Could I
Since I
have
got
a
my
vote?
questions answered.
You can. Marie-Claire Gorham,
Yes.
John Krischer,
Yes.
Susan Murphy.
Yes.
Phil Pardue.
Yes.
Mary Jo Williams.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
I think that's it. Do we have anything for future meetings that we want to bring up and move forward with?
Nope, I think we've conducted our business for the day. I have my marching orders to council and we'll be on for the August agenda.
Okay. Thank you very
Thank you
much,
all.
all of you, for your time. Thank you for your comments and your time. Thank you.
Thanks,
Meeting
everyone.
adjourned.
And if you had a chance, read Jerry's column in this week's Pine Cone. Did you read it?
Did you write? No, you know,
He wrote about the sale on and just about books in general. Yeah, so be sure and read it if you get a chance.
He loves the park.
Oh yeah, he was there a couple weeks ago. He and his wife came in to the book club.
Thank
Folks,
you. Thank you, Lynn.
I'm just simply a